if you've been feeling an unexplainable heaviness, sadness, if you've been trying to find a solution to why you've been feeling so off alignment, whether it's anxiety, lack of restfulness, overwhelm, sad emotions, sorrow, confusion. This message is for you. There is some guidance here. In order to find healing for the part of yourself that has been feeling heavy and frantic, out of alignment, lacking presence, overly busy, distracting the self, this part of you has to now be open to receiving love that's coming from your I am presence. And when this part of you starts to turn towards the self to receive love, it's able to stop its frantic activity and it is able to move into a state of just being. The healing remedy and the solution to this heavy, sad, distracted part of you is being. But it can only allow itself to be, which is stop doing, stop activity, stop running, stop trying to control the healing, stop trying to control. This part of you that feels heavy and distracted is using methods of overworking, overdoing, and distraction as a way of control, to control the environment, to control its healing. And the message for this part of you is just to stop relying on action to heal, move into the state of being. In order for this part of you to move into a state of being, it has to be able to receive the love from source, from your I am presence. So now I want you to take your arms and imagine that this place right here is the source of love, is the I am presence, it's the universe. It is creator. It is presence. It is a presence that is your greatness. It is the field of love. It is the intelligence of creation. And right now it's right here like this. And you're wrapping that painful part of you into this presence, and just observe that right now. Just visualize this right now. The painful part of me, I want you to repeat this, the painful part of me that has felt heavy and distracted, overly preoccupied with being busy, distracted, not being able to be present, doing action, needing to control. I now let this part of me be surrounded by love. A circle of love surrounds this part of me. And now I let this part of me, this sensation, this pain, this grief, turn towards the love that surrounds it. And as it turns towards the love that surrounds it, it stops acting. It stops being busy. It stops distracting. And this painful part of me starts to turn towards the source, I am presence, and it begins to receive love. The shadow self is a shadow because it hasn't learned to receive love. Understand this. The shadow, which is the pain, the suffering, the distraction, the anxiety, the control, is the shadow self because it hasn't learned to receive love. It hasn't learned to receive love from within, from source, from creation, because it has mistrust, because it wants to control, because it's programmed to think that it's in charge. So this shadow self, its remedy in medicine is to learn to surrender. And when the shadow self can learn to surrender and soften into the I am presence, into the love, the greater love, the being, the source, the intelligence of creation, surrender to source creator, then you can train the shadow self to start to spend more time in being. And when the shadow self can spend more time in being instead of distracting and doing and overactivity and controlling, when it can start to spend time in just being, that's when the shadow self can finally allow itself to receive the love and the embrace. When you allow the shadow to exist in a space of just being and resting, stop the activity, then that shadow self can start to open to receive love, receiving love, receiving love. This part of you needs to learn to receive love. It's a foreign language for the shadow self because the shadow self has stayed in the dark and it has convinced itself, it has a belief, the shadow, that it needs to find love to chase success, to force abundance, to find comfort. And so it starts to take a life of its own. And you find yourself in this hypnotized state of doing action, but feeling disconnected from love, of living life and creating and chasing and being very busy, but feeling disconnected from source, from the intimacy, from the alignment. And so the shadow self has to learn how to be in service to the greater I am presence, to the source that moves through you, to the divine light. It has to learn that it is safe for this shadow to surrender to the greater presence of the true self, the glorious self. And it has to learn to surrender and soften. It doesn't have to work so hard anymore. You don't have to work so hard anymore. The solution to your success isn't doing more. It's about doing in alignment. It's about doing in alignment. The thing you've been yearning for, that's moving the shadow to do, act, to distract, to be in this rut of overactivity. The antidote to that is for it to learn how to receive from self, from source. So your practice this week is to visualize, number one, there is a sphere of love, a presence that is now holding the distracted, busy, grief, sad self. Visualize that. Now you visualize that the grief, heavy, sad self starts to turn towards the love that is the source, that the presence of the I am, and just holds the hand of this greater love. Just visualize that right now. And it starts to remember, the shadow starts to remember that it is safe to surrender a little more to the source, to the love, to the beingness, to the I am presence, to the divine self. And it's safe to start to just learn to open, to receive love. The healing and the medicine for the shadow is to learn to be the being state so it can receive the love for the healing. And the shadow self needs to know that it doesn't have to be in control. It is not in control. The shadow self keeps as the shadow self because it thinks that it needs to be in control. But when it learns to surrender, it learns to move into the feminine yin energy. And when it learns to surrender and move into the yin, that's when your human personality will know what it means to be loved by source. You will then know what it means to be loved so deeply by God and Creator. Then you will know so deeply what it means to be in a beloved relationship with the I am presence. Then you will know what it means to be loved. This right here, of the surrendering of the ego and the shadow to the greater presence of love, the letting go and the falling into that supreme self, that greater presence. Let go and let source. This is Dr. Rameet Singh wishing you all a very beautiful day.